Hey there, it's Emran Pilati. I'm here in North Carolina in Raleigh, and I'm here with one of the top agents in all of I almost said Northern California. That's where I'm from.
I believe you just put me in Northern California.
North Carolina. I'm here with the Sean Britt. Thank you for having me at your house. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for coming all this way to see the snow.
Yeah. Today was snowing. I was not expecting that at all. So we're here at Sean's home, and she was gracious enough to have us here. And we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so, maybe shorter, depending on how long Sean feels like standing. And we're going to talk about her background, what brought her to real estate, and how she's become a top producer over the past, coming up on almost 20 years.
Wow.
17. Did I just age you?
It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
So, Sean, I know you're from around here. They're going to hear it in your accent here in just a second. You were a graduate of NC State. Tell me about what you graduated, your background and your degree.
So I graduated in 1994 from NC State with electrical engineering and minored in business management.
Right.
And then went from I knew I didn't want to sit behind a desk and do design work all day, so I went to work, took a position with Motorola to do their semiconductor sales, and they had the best training in the industry at the time.
Training of what kind?
Sales training. It was sales, marketing, and product training.
Yeah.
So it was a 1-year program. It was 6 months in Phoenix and 6 months in Austin, Texas. And then
and then you picked up real estate like around 1998. What was the cause for that?
Well, actually, I took got my real estate license and took the classes in 95. When I was in Atlanta, Motorola sent me to Atlanta for my permanent assignment, so I took classes at night. I was used to going to school and doing day and working at night, so I was bored. So I took the real estate course at night.
So you skipped nightlife in order to go take a real estate test?
Yeah, pretty much. I was used to not having a nightlife. So.
You knew you weren't going to end up living there, so you thought.
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to stay in Atlanta, so I don't want to date here. I don't want to get to know people here. I'm just going to occupy my time. So I left. I did that for 6 months in Atlanta, got my license there, and then moved back to North Carolina to help start a sales office here, still in the semiconductor industry, but competitor Motorola.
So you were part-time. You were part-time in real estate.
I was doing part-time.
Full-time in
real estate. I activated my real estate license here in 98.
Okay.
Because I had to spend a few years getting the other sales office up and running.
So you work for Motorola, and we know that that's connected to the dot-coms. What happened in 2001, 2002?
The dot-com crashed, and a lot of the manufacturing with the local company, Nortel, IBM, Cisco, started moving a lot of their manufacturing offshore. And I was doing both jobs up until that point because I really enjoyed both. And that industry, electronics industry, was really, the connections and clients were feeding the real estate business, and I enjoyed both. So I was torn. But then when the dot-com crash happened, so there's my sign. I just jumped full-time into real estate.
But something that we should mention is that at the time when you were even doing part-time, you were still doing about 50 sides. How were you able to balance that at the beginning of your career when you're part-time in real estate selling 50 sides and you're doing full-time?
I didn't have a life.
Yeah, I could tell.
I just worked all the time, pretty much.
Wow.
But I loved it, so it didn't feel, I just really enjoyed what I was doing, so it didn't feel like work.
So doing 50 deals a year, you come over to full-time in real estate. But even prior to that, you bought your own franchise. You bought your own franchise as a part-timer.
Right, 1999.
So a year after you started real estate, you bought your own franchise, and you've been running your own franchise ever since, your own office.
It wasn't, so everything happens for a reason. It wasn't by choice that I bought the franchise, because I actually wanted to go work for another company, hang my shield, and just sell. Right. But nobody would hire me in this area because they didn't hire part-time agents. So I really was forced into having to buy the franchise.
And you were thinking, actually, you said it to them, hey, I've got a strong sales background. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to end up selling more than some of your full-time agents. Are you sure you don't want to give me a shot? And they were like, what?
They said, no, I'm sorry, we don't hire part-time agents.
And today, do they try to recruit you today?
Oh, yes. They've been trying to recruit me since probably the early 2000s.
And you say, sorry, I don't work for companies that have denied me in the past. Okay, so you did both until 2002. You did 50 deals a year. Tell me about how your career kind of evolved over the last 10 years that you've been doing this full time? 10 years plus.
I think every year I've just based my business off referrals and past clients. I grew up here, went to elementary, middle, high school, college. So my whole family's here, so I obviously know a lot of people. And then from the electronics industry, so I just basically networked, marketed, and stayed in touch with that entire sphere of influence. And every year the ball just kept getting bigger and bigger because you do a good job, and they're going to tell a friend, and they're going to tell a friend, and each year it just kept snowballing.
Yeah. And
then I hired my first licensed assistant in 2004. I think it was almost 20 million. I finally said I give up. I need some time.
So at that time you're doing 20 million in volume
and just needed help.
All right. So let's talk about Raleigh itself. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the area that you service. First of all, tell us the name of your company.
It's Realty World Triangle Living, and it services Wake County. I stick to what I know, which is Raleigh, Cary, Wake Forest, and pretty much the little bit of Fuquay, Clayton area, but mainly Wake County.
Now, I did a little research before we started, and I found that Raleigh's area average sales price around $275, but your average sales price is a little higher. You're about what, $350 or so?
$350.
Why are you selling in a higher bracket than the average sales price? What are you doing? Is it just kind of your clientele?
Yeah, it's more my clientele. Like I said, it's referrals. So I sell from $100,000 to $4 million. But I've specialized over the years in a lot of high-end luxury homes, and
it's evolved to that. It's not like you started.
It's evolved to that, right?
So would you say the majority of your homes now are kind of luxury?
I wouldn't say the majority. Maybe I don't know, maybe 30%, 40% are luxury.
It's pretty high margin. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes with some of our marketing pieces and some of the groups that you work with. So tell me about this past year, 2014. You did 65 sides, 23.5 million. And I know that you made a shift in your business last year regarding buyers. So would you say the majority of that's about sellers, right? 65?
Majority of that is listings.
And you made a shift in your business. What did you do this past year?
I brought on full-time buyers partner to just specifically, she specializes in buyers and I specialize in sellers. And, I didn't want, it took me a while to get to that point because I wanted someone that I knew had similar work ethics, similar experience and background. So the person that I brought on, Heather Lane, has been in the business for a long time, also very familiar with construction, new construction and real estate, which is kind of a tough combination to find. So, once I had the right person, I just was willing to give up.
So that's tough because that's a lot of. She did over 10 million in volume
she
herself.
12.5 million.
12.5 million. Part of her business and a lot of your business that you handed to her. You basically handed her about $8 million worth of business, and along with her $4 million or $5 million that she brought on board, $8 million is a lot. How were you able to kind of say, I'm okay with giving away potential income?
I think just I got to a point where I wanted to give up money for time. That's just the place I was at, and I wanted to be able to also do more networking and be involved in more committees and different things in the area, and I really was not able to do that before.
Working with buyers, showing property, that was difficult to do when you're starting to spend more time on the road showing property rather than taking listings, going listing appointments, or doing some of the other things you're passionate about.
And it gives you more time to focus on marketing and selling those listings that you have, and one person focusing on the buyer side, one focusing on the seller side. It just seems to be a perfect fit for our clients.
There's usually a breaking point where somebody says, this is it. What was that for you when you said, I need to have a buyer specialist, somebody to help me with this stuff? Do you recall the exact instance when it happened?
Well, I've been thinking that for probably at least a few years, but I just wanted to make sure I had the right person, and I would talk to different people. I just never felt like I had the right fit, and it's like my kids. I didn't feel comfortable just turning it over to anybody.
Yeah.
So I was just willing to I'll just suffer and not have a life and not sleep
I love
until I get the right person on board, because these are, clients that I've sold 2, 3, 4, 5 houses to. I've sold their parents' houses, and I just...
Your reputation depends on whoever you partner with for your buyers.
Right.
So you had to make sure that they believed in what you believed in, ethics, hard work, etc.
Right.
Heather came along, you said, finally.
Right, exactly. I did try to get her for about 3 years. So finally.
Help me end the suffering.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean, you talked about trading money for time. That's, as I talk to top producers throughout the U.S., a lot of them are saying, once you hit a certain number, you want to do more, but at what sacrifice?
Right.
And what have you noticed that you've been able to do more now that you've been able to take that off your plate? Are you enjoying the business a little bit more?
Yeah, I enjoy the business more. I have more time to spend with family, and all my family's local. I have more time to go to the beach for the weekends and travel and just do some things that I hadn't been able to do. Sleep. I get more sleep in. I can work out more, spend more time with my friends, and it is a much better balance. So I'm actually just better prepared, I think, for the business that I am handling.
Sure.
I just think
I agree.
you have to have the balance.
So tell me about you're pretty well known within the area. It's been 17 plus years that you've been doing real estate in the area. What do people expect when they have Sean Britt come over and do a listing presentation? What can they expect? What can they expect, I should say?
I guess I'm not good at sugarcoating, so I'm pretty much a straight shooter. And most of my clients appreciate that. Obviously, I've lost some listings over the past because you don't tell them what they want to hear, but I usually end up getting those sellers down the line further. But I think they just appreciate that I'm just honest and upfront, and I try to look at all of them as, I want to tell you what to spend the least amount possible to get your house sold to get the most return. And I wouldn't tell you to do something that I wouldn't do in my own house.
So let's talk a little bit about your listing presentation. So when you go to a house, I know that you do a lot of research prior to you getting there. What are you doing to prepare for a listing presentation before you walk in the door?
Well, I now have a listing manager also that I brought on board a year ago that helps me, and my mom has been with me for about 15 years, helps on that side, pulling together marketing material, statistics. We have a local TAR report that gives us statistics by neighborhood. Then I pull up the comps in that neighborhood. And most of the time I've sold other houses in there. So I pretty much know most of the neighborhoods like the back of my hand. Most of the houses that I'm talking about in the neighborhood, when I pull the comps, the last 6 months that have sold, I've either been in the houses or sold them this time or the time it was sold before. I know all the builders in the market just from being around new construction for a long time. So I think it's just the experience, and a lot of it just...
that's something that you can't just go teach somebody new. I mean, this has been 17 years of building the way that you do your business, but you do something unique that not a lot of people... I don't think I've ever heard it ever done, is that you work with the potential seller. You talk about your marketing, you talk about what you do, you talk about your experience, but when it comes to pricing, you do something unique. So why don't you tell everybody what you do that helps you with your pricing?
Well, when the market started changing back in 2007, beginning of 2008, when the lenders started making changes on their criteria underwriters, I just decided, you know what, I had more appraisal issues within a 6-month period than I had the whole 12 years prior.
We're talking about houses not appraising for what the list price was.
Right, and then the sellers are forced, you drop to the appraised value, or the buyer walks, and of course it's buyer's market, so they had lots of other options.
And that probably put a strain on you as a listing agent, because they're trusting you that you're going to price it right, and then here comes the appraisal, and then they're let down because they've got to drop down or not sell.
Right. And I don't like nobody. The unknown is what drives people crazy. Yeah. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to start hiring an appraiser up front. So I talked to a local appraiser who's been in this market almost 30 years, and he was doing my measurements for me prior. I said, I want to hire you to do every appraisal now. So I put in the listing agreement to be determined once we get the appraisal. And I just tell people, you need to pick a listing agent that has the experience, the knowledge, the skills that you know and you feel comfortable working with, because the price is the price.
But you said it best. You said it's not about listing a house; it's about selling your house if that's what you really want to do. And we talked about that. So I think by fronting the money, putting it up front, and paying for an appraisal ahead of time, how does that help with your pricing?
Well,
do
that
they,
way
do they
I
listen
know,
to you?
Yeah, I would say 90% of the time they do listen, and if they have any questions or I thought it was worth them more than this, then here's the appraiser's number. Feel free to call him and he can explain it to you. But I'd say the majority of the time they feel like that's the pricing expert, which it really is. I'm sales and marketing expert. They really are the pricing expert. They know what the lenders will accept. And I've had really good luck doing that, and it's been worth every penny, and it saves the unknown from my sellers. I just haven't had any appraisal issues.
The majority of your listings require a loan. I mean, they end up selling with a loan. So the appraiser comes into play no matter what. It's
Right.
like this is the type of appraisal you'll have to deal with when the loan comes through anyway.
Right.
Let's save ourselves the headache. Let's price it
Get
right.
up front. There's no unknowns. If we get the appraisal and you don't think you can't make it work at this price because the appraiser, we're all using the same comps, then maybe now's not the time. Then you wait 2-3 years before you sell it. But
So-
at least there's no unknowns.
So rarely do you take a listing that's not priced to where you're comfortable. I know a lot of agents will just take the listing and then hammer the heck out of the listing, the seller over time. It's just not.
It's just not worth it. I tell the sellers, I'm like, there's always going to be somebody that'll tell you what you want to hear and price it where you want, but it doesn't do you any good or me any good. I'm not just trying to list it. I want to sell it.
Right.
And if it doesn't sell, then you have all the shop worn factors, and people think something's wrong with it, and you're going to end up getting less than what you would have gotten if you'd just priced it correctly to begin with.
Right.
And then I hire a professional stager. I pay for a 2-hour consultation for a professional stager to come in room by room and tell the seller what they need to do to get the house ready to sell.
Whether it's a declutter or a cleanup, or we need to stage this room.
Declutter is big. Paint, neutralize, take down heavy curtains that don't let light in, those sort of things. And then she sends a report within 24 hours in writing, which that saves me a ton of time and money, because I can go through and tell them, but a lot of these people I've worked with before, they're friends, it just seems to come, they usually seem to take the advice a little better when it comes from that.
That's the thing about it. That's what you said, and I love it. You say, I'm going to provide the services, but I'm not going to be the actual person saying these things. Right. So you provide the service of having an appraiser, but you're not giving them the number the appraiser is. Right. You're going to tell them to declutter, but you're not going to say it because the professional stager will. Mm-hmm. And they look at that expert and they're okay with it.
They're okay with it. Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting. I'm loving hearing all this stuff. Now,
and professional photographer.
Yeah, go into that. So every listing
I pay for a professional photographer to come in, take the photos, do a virtual tour. The true virtual tour, not the slideshow that you're seeing some of them go to now. He's got the wide angle lenses, the correct lighting. It just, because to me, it's got to look the best it can look when it hits the MLS and the internet and marketing in order for people to want to view the home. So it's worth it to pay the photographer and he does a top-notch job.
You did a marketing piece here. Why don't you? Here's the marketing piece. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this one in particular, depend on the property. I do some. This one was a larger piece of property, so I actually have a photographer, an aerial photographer, that goes up in a helicopter, because to me that's the only way to capture the property and the house that you can't capture from the ground.
So in this case, you gave a picture of an aerial photography of the actual home, and then its relationship to water and
to Falls Lake.
To Falls Lake, and
picture's worth 1,000 words.
And then you have 1,000 words right here.
Yeah.
Which is all the features of the home, in addition to not only those photos, but another set of photos on the back and the picture of the home on the front. You know what I love? Your photos on here, like all great marketing should, but it's at the back at the bottom. because I think you're saying it's not about me, it's about the home.
The home. Yeah.
And so many times you got to flip through a top agent with a big ego. You got to flip through 8 pages of them before you get to the actual home itself. You've done a great job with this marketing piece.
Thank you.
And has it got a great response?
Yes, and I use that on, I take examples of these into my listing appointments, and the sellers just love them. And I put it in PDF, attach it to the MLS under documents, and then I have the nice color ones in the home.
So you make it accessible to buyers agents to be able to print up or provide their clients
Right.
as well.
Because the buyer's agents, they don't know the home like I do. So this just makes their job easier, and the easier I can make their job, the more likely they're going to sell.
So you have pieces like this individually for the listing, but you also have a piece that tells more about you. Where do you present this, and who do you
In
present
the
this to?
listing presentation,
Okay,
I have that, and I'm kind of
go ahead.
bad about talking about myself, so
It's easier to put in
it's
print and
easier
hand
to
it to
just
them.
just hand them that.
Trust me, she means that, because she had the hardest time even wanting to do this. Not that she's not willing to share. You just said that I'm not somebody that gets in front of a microphone and talks about me. Believe me, I'm pulling this all out of her.
If it's a small group, I can talk, but I don't. Cameras
Well,
make me nervous.
that has a lot to do with you being humble about it. Tell us about your partnership with. She has a great partnership that she's done across multiple company brands. It's called the Luxury Home Marketing Group. Tell us about that, because I see here there's 14 agents there that are involved in this luxury. Tell us about that.
Well, this group was started by a couple of other top agents probably 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a coalition of top luxury agents that are selling majority of the high-end homes that have come together, all competitors, all from different companies, to share marketing and ideas, to group market together. And we meet once a month. We have a business meeting. We talk about, what are we seeing in the high-end homes? What are we seeing in the market in general? If, I need a good plumber because mine retired. I mean, we're constantly, we share vendors. We share, who are you using for your marketing, print material. Just pretty much share everything, which is very rare.
Very rare.
And
I've never seen anything like this before.
And
We're talking about cross branding from all types of companies: Sotheby's, Coldwell Banker, Realty World, of course, Remax, and some individual independents. I'm looking at this. This is pretty amazing.
It is. It's been very successful and valuable for me. And we tour each other's listings. So if I list your home today, then I submit it to the person that's handling tours for that month, and we go tour each other's listings. And then we each write on a piece of paper what our thoughts are. What do we think about the price? What do we think about how it shows? And what do they need to change?
Whether they're looking to do something very similar, depending on where you're at, looking at this video, whether you're here in Carolina or California or anywhere in between, what were the criteria when you were putting this team together?
Well, I came on. There was probably 8 ladies on that thing when I was asked to be in the group, which was over 10 years ago. And it's basically based on that you sold high-end luxury homes consistently over a long period of time, that you have a good reputation,
right,
ethics, professionalism in the area, and that everybody can bring something to the group and share and ideas, and the group size has remained anywhere from 12 to 15.
Yeah, strong group.
Yeah, it's a very close group. We have a lot of cross transactions, because you get the agents in there and then they've seen the home, they know about it, and then we're telling our buyer specialists about it, and you got to see this home, and there's no other. So basically, the sellers are getting 14 agents for the price of one.
Yeah, and all the high-end buyers that are attached to each one of those agents.
Right.
Let's step back a second. So you talked about pricing it right, pricing the home right, and dealing with making sure that the sellers are listening to you. It's frustrating because you know that people don't listen, and agents are desperate, so they'll take the listing. you had a first, second, and third quote that I've never heard before in my life, and I thought it was hilarious. So why don't you share that quote?
I said, you want to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third realtor. Because by the time you get to the third realtor, they're going to listen to you.
They're tired of
all
the promises that weren't delivered. And have you been the third realtor many times?
I have been.
Yeah. And what do you notice when you've got a listing that's shop worn, it's been on the market for multiple days, withdrawn multiple times or expired multiple times, and they've had bad experiences with the previous couple of realtors? What did you do that was just different? Did you just end up listening and they gave you the blueprint on how to be successful with them, or how does it work for you?
Well, I think they actually have they've already tested the market and overpriced it. They've left the lime green in the pink room and the dog hair all over and all the clutter because people can see through that.
Yeah.
It's just paint. They can paint it. $200. I don't understand what the big deal is. Okay. So they've been through all the frustration and had the feedbacks. It didn't sell. The bad thing is it's easy to overcome or the communication. Well, my agent didn't get back to me. They didn't follow up. I have no idea, why these people didn't like the house, why they didn't buy it, why I'm not getting any showing. So that part is easy. That's communication.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with the agent not being honest with them. And
right.
That's part of your specialty, which is give them the facts, give them the truth, and don't hold back, don't sugarcoat.
Because then they're just going to be upset. I'm like, you're going to be mad with me if I just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
You're going to be mad with me in 6 months.
Yeah.
And so I just rather tell you up front, then there's no surprises because I don't like surprises. But it's basically the communication and then the network and the marketing, and especially this whole new Realty World marketing system that we have now that nobody else has. But aside from that, and then you have to price it correctly at that time based on the last 6 months and get the house immaculate. It's a price war and a beauty contest.
Right. And it's not like it's a secret, right? Pricing it right is such a big part of whether or not this house is going to sell or even have the interest. That's not a secret, but the real strength is the agent strong enough to be able to have those conversations with the seller to say, I know they promised you all this, but let me tell you the truth and tell you why this is the right direction to go in. And you've done a great job with that.
And it's definitely not easy. I've lost plenty of listings because I guess was too honest, that's just
too honest.
Everybody,
can you believe it?
That's
Unbelievable. So here we are. We're coming into our last 5 or 10 minutes of what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about 2015. So you're a broker owner of your own Realty World franchise office. You're also a top level salesperson. One of the things that you're trading off this year is money for time. Give me some of your focus for 2015. What are you going to end up doing this year a little bit different than you did last year?
Well, I'm in the process of training a new listing manager who's licensed that I'm working real closely with and hoping. I think that's going to take a lot off my plate because I was still, doing a lot of the MLS, all the remarks. So I'm having somebody to do all that, and then I can just review it and oversee it before it goes active. And I definitely need to probably hire one more buyer specialist because Heather is getting to a point where I need somebody else that's strong, that has experience, that can take the overflow in that situation. But,
yeah. So that's a personal agent focus for yourself. What about the brokerage? What do you want to do for the brokerage? Because I know that
I hadn't really thought about that. I keep thinking about how do I give myself more time in a day.
Well, it sounds like you're going to end up trading actual sales for some of the leadership stuff that you're doing. And why is that important? Why is that important now for you in a career that you used to put your head down and work? Now it's a little bit step back, but you're going to replace that time with leadership stuff. What's changed for you? What's made you go down that route?
Just something different, I guess. Just wanting to deal with, if I can get more involved in some of the leadership roles in these groups, I feel like that can help my agents and my clients, and it's kind of an intangible for the clients, but I think it's huge. And just shifting focus, I guess, just to have a little bit of just doing some other things
Well, I know-
different. And
I know that you've worked with several agents that are very successful. We'll leave them nameless for now, but they've been successful and they've gone on to open their own offices and brokerages within Realty World. You seem very giving about that. So if somebody's watching this video and they're going, I'm not getting the leadership that I need. I'm hardworking. I'm successful. What are you looking for? And if you were to add 1 or 2 more people to your brokerage this year, what type of agent fits what you're looking for?
somebody that will definitely hardworking, work ethic, professionalism. Have to know how to multitask in this business, because you will have 20 things coming at you, and you have to know, you have to be able to multitask and prioritize. And communication is huge.
Yeah.
Communication, integrity, experience, because I just don't, I don't have time to start from zero, so they have to have the real estate experience and just want to grow, which is kind of what, with Heather. I mean, she was very nervous.
And now she's super
and
successful.
She's so happy now, but yeah, and it is nervous. But I'm just had a point. But I think multitask and hard work and communication and responsiveness is huge.
Such a big deal. Mm-hmm. All right, well there you have it. We're at the home of Sean Britt. We've had a fun 31 minutes together. Did it feel?
I made it 31 minutes.
Was it painful?
Oh, can't believe I made it that long.
The most
No, it wasn't
painful thing about this was trying to get my voice to come out of my throat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sean, do you have any closing words or anything for anybody?
I don't think so, unless you know of any good top agents that fit that criteria. Have them call me.
How did they get a hold of you?
They can call my cell, 919-215-3263, or website.
Send you inquiry on your website. What's your website?
Is SeanSellsRaleigh.com. ShawnSellsRaleigh.com.
Sean Sells Raleigh. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next video. Have a great day.